Alrighty, this is our Fusionfall Nano-ish conversation slash tier list. I am with Banana Smoothie 1
Oh,
Whoa. And Shallow Fighter 12.
Uh,
And what do we have, guys? We have a tier list made by the community manager of Retro.
you should hit play a little bit on the video so they can see it.
Oh, sorry, we gotta start.
No, you don't. Just keep going.
um, he is a community manager, and we think that, well, just by seeing a couple of his picks on the tier
There
list,
we go.
that
They can see it now for me.
hello,
it
hello,
wasn't
hello, everyone, and welcome to what I think is.
some of his picks that he put we didn't agree with so well, so
We thought there was
decided to
slight bias to him.
right. So we're just gonna make our own, and these are based on you get three on a team, and we're going A, B, C, and we're not gonna incorporate any doubles of A's, B's, or C's, or triple A's, B's, or C's. And so we're gonna start with him going through the first three nanos that you get in the game, and then if we don't think that
Oh, we're not
take
gonna
too
go
long,
one at a time.
or we could go one at a time if we need to go on for
We
more.
can. I think what we should do is like, if we have like, if we think, I guess differently than what he said about one of them, then we would pause the video and elaborate on why we made our change,
Oh right.
or why
Yeah,
we'd
that's what
put this nano here instead.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Would you explain what
And
nanos do?
nanos give you special abilities in the game, like run gives you a speed boost, snare slows enemies, sleep, puts them to sleep, stun, stun. There's also healing and scavenge, which basically gives you bonus fusion matter, and guard, which just guards you from CC against you. And then we have bonus, which gives you extra bonus in-game currency for completing
Guard
missions.
doesn't heal. It doesn't protect you from CC. It protects your potions and boosts.
Oh right, okay,
It's practically useless.
right, and we'll get into this.
I think is going to be a pretty fun video. I had the idea to go through which ones have the best powers, which ones. So that's what we're going to do. Let's hop right into it. So the three main things we're going to be ranking them on are going to be. That's going to be the main thing we look at.
No. We want to go back
are
and hear what he's
better,
ranking them on
a
because
second
we're
or
practically
worse,
ranking them the same way.
in certain parts of
Alright.
the game. So, for example, run nanos are a lot more useful early in the game because of vehicles. You don't have access to vehicles early in the game, but once you have access to vehicles, the value of a run nano really decreases. Second of all, recall is another one that actually is the opposite. It gets more valuable later in the game, especially when you get to like Green Maw. There are a lot of platforming challenges that recall is very, very useful for compared to some of the earlier infected zones. And the final thing we're going to be looking at is flexibility. So basically the ability to fit in a nano stack in your 3 nano roster that you have in your nanocom while you play. So we're going to be looking basically for that. Like, can they be replaced by another nano that does their job but better? That's going to be the main thing that we look for. So I made these 5 tiers here. Best, valuable, balanced, underpowered, and the worst. If you wanted to make your own tier list, you don't have to stick to those 5. You can make as many or as little tiers as you want. That's the joy of a tier list. Another thing is I'm not going to be ranking them off aesthetics at all. I'm not going to have the voice acting, the model, the animations, the powers like connectivity to their source material. I'm not going to be looking at any of that. I'm simply going to be looking at the powers themselves and like the gameplay applications, not the aesthetics. And of course,
And we also do have Banana has a Photoshop thing for our tier list. If you want to go and show them that.
Yep.
Um, yep.
It's not as fancy and snazzy with all the extra details on the outside to like tell people to come in or self promote or anything. It's just nice and simple. Nothing too
Right.
crazy.
We're not looking to do all that. But back into it.
of course, this is all opinion based. If you guys have different opinions than me, like, oh man, why is number 2 at the very top? I think he should be at the very bottom, and here's why. Leave a comment and let me know. You guys can make your own tier list if you want.
How about we make a whole video?
I'm just
Yeah. If you have any questions, like Eddie, that we'll get to later.
Well, spoilers.
Photoshop to make this, but there are plenty of other ways you can make your own Fusionfall tier list. But without further ado, let's hop into it. We're going to be going one at a time through the Nano order. So we're going to start with number 1, and that is Buttercup. So Buttercup, right here.
He also shows all the skills of the
Buttercup
Nanos
has a
on
stun power,
his screen.
stun cone. She has group.
Right. So if we see how about we just talk about him and then we put him in where we would say before
No. We go after what he does.
Okay.
Peel, and she has Scavenge. Those are very, very good powers. Buttercup is actually one of the few Nanos that has 3 like really solid powers. Heal is probably one of the best abilities in the game. The fact that it is group heal doesn't necessarily diminish it at all. It's just like a little side note. But Scavenge is also a very, very good power. The worst thing about Buttercup is just the fact that she's forced to get her worst power, which is stun. Because obviously when you complete the tutorial, you're forced into getting misfire as your power. So if you want like a better power than stun, you are kind of forced to go through the process of a nano power change, which does cost quite a lot of fusion matter and taros. But just looking at her power straight up, especially with how early you get her in the game, she is extremely, extremely useful. Especially if you change to Scavenge, she's one of the few Nanos that will help you get past the level disparity around level 29. And she's probably the best one for that, because we'll look at the other Scavenge Nanos later. Because of all those reasons, I'm going to put Buttercup up here in valuable. I think she's a very, very valuable Nano. She's definitely a great addition to any team in the B slot. Depending on no matter what power, she can be your healer. She can pull off a little bit of damage with the stun, and she can also help you with more utility with the Scavenger. She's probably one of the better, if not one of the top Blastons Nanos for sure.
Alright. So, controversy immediately. He brought up some good points with Buttercup, and I'm going to be strongly talking about this because I love using Buttercup. She's a favorite Powerpuff Girl back in the cartoons.
Right.
But on our tier list, it's probably pretty unanimous where Buttercup should actually go.
Right. And
S.
the thing is, also with that, he said it takes a lot of fusion matter and a lot of in-game currency to do that. I think it's like 5. I think it's like
It's
5,000.
like early on, it's only like 2,000.
Right. So if you really want to just change,
Even if it
Scavenge
is
in the beginning-
5,000, I did it like almost immediately getting to Peach Creek, which is like
Right,
what,
right.
level 2?
Yeah. And I'm literally level 13, and I used that already.
Because
Even that was pretty cheap.
and because like he talks about how it's such a huge hit, and it's honestly not, because if you change her to Scavenge, you end up getting more fusion matter, which is like the experience in this game.
Right, which makes you level up faster.
Which makes you level up faster regardless. So you can use it and then not even realize that you used all that fusion matter, because you will get so much reward from completing missions if she changes to Scavenge. Heal is also really good early, because when you get her at level, like when you're able to change her back, there's like 2 other Nanos you could have for healing, but they might have other abilities as well. But all of her, and he also said she's one of the like top Blastons in the game, and he put her in A. That really doesn't make sense. She's one of the best in the game, yet she's valuable. She's not the best.
Yeah, and along with that, we just came out of a Christmas update where you got 5,000 fusion matter per quest.
Yeah,
And
but that's not going to really contribute into this.
It's not going to contribute too much, but at this point, like, I literally got all of my fusion matter back from switching her to Scavenge, so that's why we put her in S.
Yeah. Like he
Any
said,
thoughts?
she's probably one of the best Blaston Nanos in the game.
Alright. Move back.
So we're gonna move on to number 2. Number 2, cool name Kids Next Door. He is the second Nano you get. His powers aren't the best. As you can see, he has a run self, a group recall, and a bonus. So just talking about his best power far and away is run self. Especially because, as I said earlier, you get it so early in the game. You get it level 2, which means that you don't have vehicles. You don't have access to vehicles for another 8 levels at this point. and he is one of the few nanos. He's actually one of the only 2 that have the run power. So if you want to get places very, very quickly, not even very, very quickly, if you want to like increase or decrease, I guess, the amount of time it takes to get between waypoints and places without having to spend money on like the Skyway agents or the scampers, number 2 is probably your best bet, especially just because of the other adaptium choices between here and level 10, which is very, very, very sparse. The only problem with that is while his run is very, very good, group recall isn't. Recall is probably the worst power in the game. Well, group recall is one of the worst powers in the game. We'll have a little bit of a discussion later when we get to some other powers. And bonus really isn't the greatest either. It's really just for farming, and even then, it's really only good for farming once you've already completed your fusion matter meter for the level. But it's not bad. It's not bad. Don't get me wrong. Bonus is definitely not a bad power to have. And for that reason, or for all those reasons, I'm gonna shove him up here into the balanced tier.
Oh.
He's great, especially early. The run power, especially level 1, really, really solidifies him being like a great early nano. It's just that the other 2 powers are not the best. Especially for the A slot, there are a lot of better nanos for an A slot, especially later in the game. But early in the game, he's probably your best bet at like an A slot nano. Third.
All right, before we get into that, Grant, do you have any thoughts on where he should be?
I think something that I came with across was his recall, and I think that saying that was the worst. Well, if you were saying something like a late game sort of thing, that would be
Yeah, but he was.
beneficial.
At
Yeah.
this point, he was bad.
I mean, I guess like with availability, group recall is not something that's very good, but run is
Right.
very good, and bonus is just an average skill at best.
I think when he talked about bonus, he actually had scavenge in his head because he
Yeah.
was talking about fusion matter, and
Yeah,
that's not bonus, that's scavenge.
yeah, that's scavenge. That's what Buttercup has.
I think he should still be in. I think, opinion, he's still like early game. His early game is really great. Does end up falling off once you get goals and everything.
I mean, but in the beginning of the game, run self gets you everywhere so much faster, and then he put on the point of you didn't want to buy scampers or monkeys, and it's like, well, why would you want to waste time running around when you could literally pay like 100 to
yeah.
4,000 taro, or no, 1,500 taros at the max.
That's only to get to the Darklands. That's late game,
Right.
dog.
Right.
It's like
So-
100 at max anywhere with a monkey, like maybe 300 when you get to like Mount Blackhead areas or like in
Right.
the city.
Mhm.
But besides that,
So for like early game, I'd say he was valuable, and then later game, he's more balanced and underpowered.
he's valuable only for self-run because group recall is terrible early. You don't really need it. The fusion zones aren't that crazy big. And
No.
bonus is okay, especially if you have plans to get the other nano that has run to have run instead because you possibly switched Buttercup to healing.
Mhm.
I think overall, I'd put him in balanced
Yeah, I see where the balance is. Yeah.
because he's got group recall for late game, but you also have to realize he's filling the A slot, and there are a lot of good nanos later in the game
Yeah.
that fit the A slot a lot better over group recall.
Right.
Right.
And that early game with the run and the end game with the recall, there really isn't much for his mid game because there's just that better nano that comes later. So we're just gonna put him up in A.
Well, A? Well, whoops.
Or no, B. I mean B.
Oh,
you scared me.
whoa,
I was
whoa,
like, wait, what?
whoa,
What
moved
whoa,
him into
happened?
A, so
whoa,
I was like,
whoa,
okay.
my bad, my
Okay.
bad.
Now let's head back to the most controversial one I think we have out of this.
Oh yeah, this one's gonna be.
Yeah.
We're gonna go with Eddie. Eddie is I'm just gonna say it right up. He's one of the best nanos in the game by far. He has a heal self, he has a group run, and he is a guard. But guard not the best power. Guard's pretty bad power, especially in the future because there aren't any enemies that like steal your boosts and potions. But it is nice to have, but it's not necessarily something that you want to take up a nano slot for. But its other 2 powers, self heal, especially because he is your actual first heal nano, unless you go through and change Buttercup's power. which not many players necessarily do at level 1. And he also has Group Run, same value as number 2. It's just he has a difference. He's in the C slot, not the A slot. But he has the same value of number 2's Run, except it's even better because it's Group Run. So if you and your friends are in a group together, you're the only one. Only one person needs a Run Nano, as long as you guys are relatively close to each other. And it's just immense value out of Speedy Getaway, his Group Run, and then Jawbreaker Break, of course, as a heal, allows you to grind. It allows you to do missions, like it allows you to attack mobs for missions for a lot longer than you would. You don't have to wait for your health to regen. You have to use heal straight up. He is by far one of the best nanos in the game, and for all of those reasons, I'm going to place him in the best category. And I personally believe he is in a contender for best nano in the game.
All right.
So
This man's not S tier.
he also put the word personal.
Yeah.
In his
So
statement.
there is obviously some strong bias towards Eddie.
And
but
then he even called guard the worst ability in the game.
Yeah, one of the worst. So why don't you get this one?
So heal is very important in the early game because a lot of people are like, I want to get started, I want to get going, and that heal really helps you from sitting for that 5-10 seconds that you wait for your healing to come back.
Mm-hmm.
Group run is basically self run, but if you play with friends, it's gonna help them because then they can take their run slot out and put something else in.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't put Eddie at S.
No.
I'd rather put him at around like A.
Yeah.
I think that's where I'd put him.
Because like if he didn't have guard, and he possibly had a better final slot skill, if he had maybe like, honestly don't know, not guard. If he didn't have guard, and it was
stun, for instance.
Nah, not a stun. If he had something like maybe, I don't know, who knows.
By his kit,
They could have put the boost money thing on Eddie here because he's always trying to get cash or something like that.
For Jawbreakers, yeah.
Yeah, but like the thing that is really weird with his tier list that I want to bring up is that he valued every skill on Buttercup extremely high, and that she really has no terrible skill, and then he goes over to Eddie and says heal is fantastic, group run is fantastic, guard, shove that one under the rug, and he's the best nano in the game. It's like that doesn't work.
Right.
You can't value 2 skills over one and then say the first nano you get is probably one of the best in the game.
I mean, when you also put words like personal and my thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Overall, Eddie does have strong value with heal and group run, but guard, I think, pulls him down way too much to be an S tier.
Right.
I agree.
Alright, so let's move on.
So we're going to move on to Eduardo. A lot less hype around Eduardo than Eddie. Eddie, of course, very, very good. Eduardo's not bad. He does have a heal. He has heal area. The thing with heal area is that I believe it actually heals you specifically less than Eddie's heal or Buttercup's heal would, which does diminish its value a little bit, but it's still a heal, especially because it's an A slot heal, and you wouldn't have an A slot heal at the time. Number 2 obviously doesn't have a heal. His other 2 powers are not bad either. Well, he has radar. Radar is bad. Radar is for contender for the worst power in the game, which is why his powers aren't necessarily the best. But Drain is a really, really good, really, really solid damaging nano power. I really enjoyed Drain, especially if you use it against like a boss such as Don Doom Bad Max. You do drain a lot of health from them, and it's very, very good for taking out tanky monsters due to its damage over time effect. But really nothing too special about Eduardo. There really isn't any reason to use him over, say, any other nano. Not that I'm looking down the list. Like Grim kind of serves a lot of his purposes. In terms of damage, something like Jack would serve his purpose as well. But for how early in the game you get him, I can't necessarily complain. I'm going to put him in balanced alongside number 2 because he's not bad. Drain and heal, great powers. Radar does hold him back a little bit, as well as the self-heal, or not the self-heal aspect, the area heal aspect on Papa's Fritas.
I can agree with that. Hello? Oh, why can't I hear anyone? Oh no, this is so bad. What is happening?
Hello?
Hi.
You're not here, Nicholas?
I think he's muted.
Sorry about that. I muted myself. Just edit that one out later.
No, it's all staying in, Doug. I don't edit.
Self area. I didn't think when I went through it, I read it, and I didn't think it did less.
It doesn't do less.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't do
And-
less, but I agree with him where he put Eduardo.
Also, I was reading the comments on it. He also did state that any healing is the same across the board. So he's also contradicting himself here. Radar is one of the worst.
Radar is terrible.
With Drain, he talks about all these late game bosses with a lot of help.
Well, Mad Max and Don Doom are not late game. They're in like Peach Creek.
Right.
But it is
So-
helpful against tankier characters. Heals are always good, but Radar pulls him down, and I think he belongs where he put him.
Yeah. I think there's a argument to put him. I put him underpowered. It just depends on who.
I think you're
because-
really devaluing Drain and health at that point.
Right, because really, if you think about what everybody's gonna pick Drain, because they haven't seen it before.
And
And when
because they
they tr-
probably
they-
also have Eddie with heal or Buttercup
Right.
with heal, and they don't want to get rid of number 2 because of run.
Right, and so number two's run is still going to be valued over Eduardo, anyways, because they're still trying to run around and.
But then again,
explore
that
the
also
map.
depends if you have run on Eddie and heal on Buttercup, and then you
Right.
have like Drain on Eduardo.
Mhm. So, we'll keep him in the B tier.
He's balanced.
He's balanced.
If he didn't have
before-
Radar, he'd probably have a lot more value to him.
Right. Also, before we get farther into this, this is based on a bell curve, where we want the most nanos to be in the B tier, because that's where the balance is. We don't want everybody in S or everyone in D. We want a specific bell curve to come out of it.
We're
Alright.
going to move on to our past nanos now. We got Blossom. Blossom, of course, has a stun. She has a stun area. She has an antidote, and she has freedom group. Now, these powers are not very good. They have their uses for sure, especially with the group freedom aspect of everything nice. But the problem is there are a lot more useful things to put in your nano slot for your Cosmix Nano. Especially, you already have Eddie, who we've already discussed is a very, very, very strong nano. And there are some Cosmic Nanos later in the game that also will fill this spot very well. Forearms, Professor Utonium. And a lot of them just overshadow Blossom. Like, her stun's okay, her stun's great. But there are also a lot more offensive options if you're looking for a C Nano. There are also a lot, like, Antidote's a great power, don't get me wrong, but isn't necessarily worth an entire nano slot for. So I'm going to put Blossom into our first one in the underpowered category. We do have a nice spread of nanos so far, and now we're gonna move on to.
All right, you want to take that away, Grant?
Yeah, I'm gonna take this one. Basically, kind of gets rid of this idea of late game. When he talks about it, he doesn't talk about anything sort of late game wise, and I think when going through the game, there is a lot more infected areas that like maneuver and other stuff like that, and I think Antidote is pretty huge at that point. It is definitely worth the slot late game, but not so much in the early game. Her stun is okay. Basically, if you had, but Buttercup already has one, so the stun is basically changed. So the stun is basically useless, and then Freedom's gonna bad by.
You also gotta understand that. Oh, wait, well, so hold on. Where would you put her then?
I that's kind of difficult because I'm kind of going through staying with C and going to D because
Going to D, even though you just talked a lot of value late game, you're gonna put her
I
in
know,
D?
I know.
Because
That's
I
why.
was gonna bring up, you're talking about late game, but you'll possibly have nanos like Utonium or Forearms or Number 4 or even Eddie still,
Right.
who bring a lot more value, and we'll talk about them when we get to them. I
Right.
think I agree with him where he put Buttercup.
Yeah.
Or
And I
Buttercup
believe
Blossom.
that, Antidote is really, I feel like it's for those who just want to run through it
It is
and
definitely
not
better
worry
late
about
game.
the
There's a ton
ground.
more.
Yeah. I looked at something about Fuse's layer. It's literally covered in toxic fusion matter.
Well,
So I didn't put her in D, but I'm pretty sure I put her up in C.
yeah, put her in C.
Because late game, if you're playing in a group, the antidote is gonna help you, and then you still have that chance of 2 damage, the other 2 being 2 damage, or 1 even being a heal or a damage in the late game. Anything else? Questions?
The only reason why I thought of D because the stun is kind of thrown away because of Buttercup that has the stun, and then the freedoms.
Yeah.
But again, that late game aspect brings her up.
It doesn't put her in the worst.
Okay. Alright, we can move back now.
Wilt?
Awkward transition.
Oof,
I
Wilt,
was
buddy.
getting my finger out of a.
So Wilt has
or
two snares.
shifting.
He has a snare cone, I believe, and a snare area. But he also has a jump, and he's your first nano that has a jump, which is really, really great for platforming and stuff. So he's not bad. He's not necessarily a bad nano. It's just the fact that he has no flexibility at all, because snare is not a good power. Snare is probably one of the worst active powers, if not the worst, besides sleep. That you can get on Nano, and he has it twice. But the big thing about Wilt is it doesn't necessarily matter that he has 2 snares. It's more of the fact that he has jump. And jump is very, very good, especially because he's the first one you have, and you're not going to get another jump until preferably Professor Utonium, but no one gets jump on Professor Utonium, so probably no jump until Bubbles, which is a pretty far way down the line. So Wilt's not bad necessarily. He has 0 flexibility. He's going to be a jump nano, and even then, you can probably fit, especially Mandark. Mandark kind of outclasses him completely. However, you get Wilt a lot earlier than you get Mandark. So I'm gonna put him in underpowered. He's not in the worst category by any means, but he is a bit underpowered just because of the fact that he has 0 flexibility on his powers. So.
I could agree
On
with
that one, I kind of don't.
I kind of don't.
Really?
The decrease of movement speed in enemies is most of the time so you can just get away, and using 2 of those when you're just looking to fight is not very great. And jump is just basically a dumbed down
Rocket.
version of Rocket, and Rocket's always going to be better than jump. So I put him in the worst.
I can understand that, but you got to remember that early on, you don't get jump for another 7 levels?
But jump pads are always the.
Or you
always
don't get
better
rocket
than-
for another 6 levels.
Right, but you always have jump pads to get around if you need to.
Not in every place.
Plus, if you're speedrunning, then yeah, jump and in infected zones and everything, jump would be so great. But if you're just playing the game normally, most places you can get to don't require jump at all,
And
that's really it.
I think I understand what he's doing. Jump really carries Wilt, but it doesn't carry him enough.
Right.
Yeah, so I agree with C, but if you both 2 to 1 anonymously say one of the worst, then
Right, I think he is one of the worst. With one of the only characters having 2 of the same ability,
yeah.
that really drops his
Jump carries a lot of value early, but I don't think it's enough with double snare.
Right.
I agree.
Especially when they're one of the worst fighting.
Is that the second Blastin that you?
Yeah.
Yep.
So at this point, once you get Wilt, you decide: do I still want Buttercup or do I want Wilt? And
Right.
Buttercup
Buttercup
is superior to Wilt in every way.
Right.
Yep.
And the only reason I put Wilt on my team for jump because I was trying to catch up to you guys who were already 3 or 4 levels ahead of me. I wasn't looking for.
And now you're like 15 behind.
Yeah, now I'm level 15 because I started Battle Cup at level like 13 or 12.
And I have stopped because I haven't taken the time to farm.
Yeah. All right.
All right, back to it.
We're gonna move on to Didi. Didi's number 7, and Didi ain't bad. Didi ain't bad at all. No.
Pause.
We're doing something.
Sorry for that. Let's get back to it.
I'm just gonna cut that out.
Similar to Wilt, she has 2 of the same power. She has 2 damages. She has a damage cone and a damage point, I believe. Oh no, damage area and damage point. But she has a group revive, which is very, very useful. It's your first revive power. Revive, not necessarily like the best power in the game, but with group revive, it's actually, I'd say, very, very useful. Just because of the fact that if you're, you and your friends are doing kind of like a hard mission and you don't want to keep losing your friend over and over again, damage revive is group revive is actually a very good power to use, especially in the B slot, because you can take out Buttercup for this pretty easily. You can take out Wilt for this pretty easily. And even later in the game, she outclasses a lot of B nanos, especially damage. Damage is a very, very solid power. I'd say it's probably the most balanced of all the powers because you know what you're going to get. It's just like some damage on the enemy. And it's not necessarily bad at all. So she's a very good, like, kind of offensive / supporty nano, and you can definitely fit her in a team comp very, very easily. So I'm going to put her in balanced because there's not necessarily anything fantastic about her. Like, group revive is great. Damages are great. They're great. They're just not, like, fantastic. And they're also not necessary. Similar to Buttercup and Eddie, they have very, very great powers that are also somewhat necessary at times. Didi, not necessarily necessary, but great powers. I definitely recommend Didi Nano. I just think she's balanced, and balance isn't bad. Balance is not bad at all.
Along with what he said, it's like revive group. It's like I didn't really test this, but what if you die?
Well, then that's it.
Oh, it's a group actually, so actually everybody would be able to use it.
No, not if you die.
Only you can. Only you can.
If
But
you
if-
don't die,
Oh,
group. See, that's the thing. There's self revive and group revive. Group revive revives everybody in your group, and self revive only revives you.
right.
Group revive
so if
does
you
not
die-
revive the person using it. So if you die,
Right.
that's it.
Yeah. So that's where I don't put her at balance then, because if you pick that, you have to make sure you don't
Well,
die.
you have to understand if you are going to be the support / reviver, you're going to have a healed nano. You'll probably have a self revive in case you go down, and then you're going to have a someone with group revive late game.
Right, but at this point, there are no other revives in this game. At this point.
Except for.
So if they pick it up, it's like, oh, it's a revive. It's just gonna bring me back alive.
Well,
and
it
they
says
pick it up.
it says
and
group.
And there's description.
right. But if they don't understand what group and all that other stuff, then they're gonna get screwed out of a nano, basically.
Yeah,
but
but
then
they
they're
can
also in
change it.
contention with Buttercup then, which has stun or heal
and scavenge.
and scavenge, which scavenge is always gonna be better than a group revive any day.
Mhm.
Damage, on the other hand,
It's
that's
it's solid.
iffy. Yeah, it's solid.
I'd say out of all the damaging abilities in the game, it's the weakest, but it's very consistent, solid damage, depending on what you want to do with it.
Right.
I still think she belongs in B.
I believe that she belongs in B, with depending on what you used her for down to C. Because if you use her for support, you're gonna be in the back and you're like almost never gonna take damage.
He also said that easily Wilt could be changed, Buttercup could be changed. I think is wrong. So
Yeah,
Buttercup is a way better nano, but DD does Wilt in a lot of.
oh yeah, she superiorly outclasses Wilt just by having. And I want to bring up, yes, we did bring up 2 similar skills when it came to Wilt, and
Right.
saying that having 2 similar skills is a bad thing. It completely depends on what the skill does. Snare really doesn't provide you with any type of advantage when fighting against the monsters in this game. But
It
when
really only helps to run away.
it really only
basically.
helps to run away, and then again, you can just use sleep, which is a way better runaway skill, but sleep is terrible. Damage, on the other hand, is helping you out a lot more in the fights. She has single target and area damage, so depending on what you're actually going in to fight, it could be a little bit more helpful than Snare. especially having two of them.
Right.
It could be it's just in
Like,
the end having two damaging skills is better than two snares.
right. All right. Next
I think
Nano.
I agree with that.
Next Nano.
We're gonna move on to number 5. This one gets a bit cooler. I very much like the number 5 Nano. She has, I think, bar none, the best power in the game, which is Leech. Leech Point, probably the best power in the game. Rocket's a close second, I would say, but for our talks right now, let's think Leech Point. She also has Revive, so fills kind of the same role as DD. The only problem is it's Revive Self, not Revive Group. So you can't necessarily revive your teammates. You can revive yourself, though. Sneak Group, not necessarily the most useful power of all time, but if you're trying to, get to an area and there are a bunch of monsters in the way, Sneak definitely has its purposes. Sneak's probably her worst power out of the 3. However, Leech, best power in the game by far. Revive, very good power. Sneak, not a bad power at all. I'm going to put number 5 in the best category, or number 5 in the best category, because of Leech. Specifically because of Leech, and also because so far, if you get her, accessibility, you get her level 8, she's miles better than Buttercup, miles better than DD, miles better than Wilt. And even later in the game, she outclasses him, she outclasses Mandark, she outclasses Mojo, she outclasses a lot of Blastons Nanos. So she can really compete for that B spot for a long, long time. And I think she's one of the best Blastons Nano in the game.
Okay,
I can
so
agree with that.
yeah, I can agree. Me and Banana only watched up to.
Oh, I watched the whole thing.
Oh, I only watched up to DD, so that actually kind of surprised me when he put him up at S.
No, I 100% agree. Leech Point is the best
Yeah,
damaging
Leech is the
skill
best.
in the game.
That also
Late
heals-
game with like a gumball or not a gumball, you're hitting for 800 or more, and you're getting half that back as health.
Right, and then you have Revive Self. So basically, what I would use Revive for is to switch it for a heal if you're not really worried about healing.
And
then
Group Sneak, I think he's undervaluing Sneak if you're really just trying to do like a timed mission or something, or just
Right,
trying to
or
get
if you're-
somewhere that
yeah.
there's a lot of monsters around. Sneak can be very useful there.
Yeah.
I think there's
So like I would say
it's
like
about
a-
as average as like bonus for the extra Tauros. I'd say it's around the same value as that. Then
Right.
again,
Yeah,
couldn't see us an
for,
issue
like-
in this game.
for like speed runs, and if you had like a group speed run and not a single, then you'd use Sneak Group, and then a bunch of other like helpful ones like Antidote would also help you out.
No, he said that number 5 is better than Buttercup. I feel like you can switch them between the two. Because,
Right.
yes, you can switch out Buttercup for Leech, but you also have to understand by doing that, you're getting rid of your Scavenge Nano, or possibly your Stun Nano, or your Heal Nano, because you possibly have, like, Run on Eddie, or using Blossom Stun instead. Or
Right,
you
and
possibly, like, I think they're strong together, but they both have their different strengths, but they're still some of the best in the game.
Right, and if we were using you could use two of a specific class of Nano, then
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
you'd probably just
During
put
my
them both
playthrough, I had Buttercup and Boss and number 5. I had number 5 till I was
Right.
like level 20.
Right, and I did Buttercup and who else? Somebody else right now for a couple missions because that was pretty simple. I just needed to get
Mhm.
someone
Hold on.
and get it.
Yeah, you don't
Other than-
get just A, B, and C when it comes to your choices. You can have 2 Bs or 3 Bs or multiple of the same type.
Right. And then also I would think of like Leech to be really good if you're in a group, like if you're like the front line and you're just taking all that damage to just take
Oh,
it back.
if you're Leech, you're like DPS Bruiser.
Right.
Right.
Because with a gumball, Leech does at least like 1,000,
Mm-hmm.
which
I think
is
it was
like
1,000.
like that's like a chunk of health from anything.
Oh, it is a big.
It'll heal you up. Quarters.
It'll heal you up. The heal is not as strong as the heal skill itself, but it gets pretty close to similar.
All right, let's move on.
So, move on to poor Double D.
Oh,
We're
God.
gonna move on to Double D at slot 9. I know if you've played Fusionfall before, you probably know what I'm gonna say. Double D is, if not the worst Nano in the game, he's one of the worst, if not the worst Nano in the game. Look at his powers. Look at his poor powers. He's got Treasure Finder, which is just the same thing as Radar. It's not good. He has Snare, as we talked about earlier with Wilt. not good at all, and he has recall, which only is good very, very late in the game. And by the time it's good, you're gonna have a bunch of good Cosmic Nanos. You're gonna have Aku. You're gonna have number 5 or number 4. You're gonna have number 3. You're gonna have like Vilgax, Swampfire. You're gonna have a lot of decent nanos that are just far and away better than what Double D can provide. So not too much to like talk about with him. I'm just gonna slowly slide him into the worst category because, oof, they really did him dirty with the powers, especially compared to Eddie, who has some of the best powers in the game.
Alright. Did he
we're
say
gonna kind
Coop
of stick
was a
on the
Nano?
same Double D
Coop,
train.
yeah,
We're gonna
it's
talk about
a
Megas
Coop.
here.
Will you like?
Pause,
Oh,
pause,
Aku.
Megas
Pause,
might
pause,
have
pause.
just as bad
Pause,
powers
pause, pause,
as
pause.
Double D.
It is
There's no
pause.
sync anymore.
Good.
So while this is happening, let's talk about Double D.
Yeah,
Double D
Double
sucks.
D. Yeah.
Double
I mean,
D.
Treasure Hunter literally does nothing.
Treasure Hunter, if you are that person who wants exploration when it comes to this game and you want to find all the secret areas where Coco's golden eggs are, sure, use Treasure Hunter. But besides that, he's probably one of the worst Cosmic Nanos in the game.
Yeah, especially if you put him next to the other Cosmic right now, like Eddie, for instance.
Yeah, Eddie's way better. He also just said like all of Eddie's skills are really good, yet nobody uses guard. Just want to
Right,
point that
and
out.
then like you put Blossom against Double D, Blossom still ends up.
Yeah, Blossom is actually better.
Like Double D, if we had an E like for low tier, just not Double D.
Oh, fudge.
There's just no way around it. Double D got gypped a lot of.
They really didn't have much to work with a nerdy like character, so
Right.
let's get this bread, gamers. We were at like what?
It should be already there once you get rid of your more videos tab.
He's at 16-15.
Yeah, it looks like
All right, let's go.
should. Well,
that are just far
yours
and
is
away
playing,
better
but
than what Double D can provide. I'm just gonna slowly slide him into the worst category.
So we just put Double D and D, correct?
yeah.
All right, so we're good.
Oof, they really did him dirty with the powers, especially compared to Eddie, who has some of the best powers in the game.
Speaking of doing him dirty,
So, we're gonna kind of stick on the same Double D train. We're gonna talk about Megas here. Megas might have just as bad powers as Double D. The only good thing about it is he has Sneak. Sneak, as I said with number 5, isn't necessarily bad. Sneak self is a lot worse than Sneak group for the same reasons. But he has 2 sleeps. Sleep is garbage. Oh, sleep is very, very bad, and he has 2 of them. So this is a very similar situation to Wilt, where he has 2 really bad powers of the same type. But he has like a 3rd power. The only problem is I would value Jump so much more higher than I would value Sneak, and for that reason I can't justify myself putting him in the underpowered category because of that. Because he's basically just a worse Wilt without Jump.
Sorry, he compared an A Nano to a C Nano.
well, that's because you can have multiple of a type on a team.
Right, and
See,
that's
and this
why
is why I wanted to put Will in C because Jump has so much more value than Sleep and Sneak.
Right, but we also did say that Sleep is a lot better than Snare.
And it's
They're kind of
slightly,
interchanged.
it's
They're
like this,
slightly interchanged.
it's like the same basically.
Right, so it didn't matter what we would say, we're still gonna put him.
Jump
in D
carries more
because of
value
Will.
than Sneak, but I think the double snare is not enough to carry Wilt out of D.
Like I said, if it was like a S A B plus B C D, and then
That
we could
would-
have Wilt on that C, and then everything a little bit.
Yeah, but we were making it
that'd be
similar to his.
Right.
Because we
And
could
along
we
with
could have
that-
all this. We could have like SS, which would be number 5, and then S would be Buttercup.
Right. But
we
along
could have
with
like
that-
17 tiers, and they would all fit into one each. Like,
Right.
Yeah, that would be good.
And a lot of Sneak is really used a lot in like infected zones and when you're running through groups of enemies.
yeah,
And really helps when you're alone and you just want to get through it. You don't
Sneak
wanna-
has its uses, but it's not as good as Jump.
The
but
double sleeve
They
really.
both suffer from similar skills, and both the similar skills being pretty
Mhm.
bad.
Right. All right, let's move on.
But I'm going to throw him in the worst category alongside Double D, unfortunately. So, let's move on to Billy. Billy has freedom for himself. He has a sleep area, I believe that is. Yep, sleep area. And he has a damage. So, not necessarily the best powers in the world. Obviously, we've talked about sleep. We've talked about freedom a little bit. Freedom is good. A lot of people don't really see the value in freedom. Freedom is actually very good, especially when fighting against bosses. It's slept on quite a bit. I'd say it's a very decent power. Damage also very decent power to have. Especially in the A slot, you have Megas, and he easily outclasses Megas, and he easily outclasses things like I would say he outclasses Eduardo as well. I wouldn't say outclasses Eduardo. I'd say he's pretty around the same level as Eduardo, especially with his damage being compared to Eduardo's drain and his freedom being compared to Eduardo's heal. He's a bit worse than Eduardo, I would say, but not in all ways. That's because Eduardo does have that radar. However, since he is like a bit worse than Eduardo, I have to put him in underpowered just because he is like a bit worse, you know?
I don't agree with that. I don't agree that he should be that since he's just a little bit worse than Eduardo, that he has to be a whole tier under.
I mean, with you're comparing skills at that point.
Right.
He's muted again.
I'm just gonna keep my microphone on this.
But I'm
Sleep, you know,
We've
it's
told
better
you the
for
value
running-
of sleep.
yeah.
It is terrible.
it's
definitely-
terrible.
It
But running
definitely
away,
drags him.
but you do have that damage, which is straight and to the point. Drain is
Better.
something. Drain is better, but not like 100% better than damage because damage is damage.
Well, drain also reduces defenses.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yep, drain reduces defenses. That's why Utonium is so good.
Hmm
Then again, nobody gets drained
And-
on Utonium.
Along with this, along with this tier list, we do have the chance that we can change our minds if something else happens, and we think that makes this character better or worse overall. We can change it midway,
That's
should
true.
we take a quick break?
and
So what? Putting him in C? Accidentally muted myself. Oh my lord, I'm throwing.
We just need a quick break.
Quick break.
Yes, quick break.
We're putting him in C, right?
Yes.
Ah! We got written down. We're gonna keep going.
okay, right. So I believe that since we've put Billy in the game, Megas is down, and I feel like at this point, Wilt is definitely better than Megas.
Yeah.
Because that's where I kind of put it. It's like, well, he's in the worst for this set, but once you get Billy, that's when you put maybe Wilt up more than Megas because you have something that's better than Megas in general. That's
Well, even if we wanted to make this a little bit more interesting, we could have done like the future Nanos and their set of tier lists, and then bring those in and reset them into the.
Well, the future
kind
Nanos
of
are the first
game.
4.
I know.
Yeah.
And then kind of crank up each like 4 or 5, 6 levels, and kind of see where everybody fits after that. But that would just way too.
But there also is that chance of somebody takes one of the first 4 nanos and takes them through the entire game.
I mean, Buttercup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eddie.
So
I can see you
if-
doing it with Eddie. I can see you doing it with Buttercup. I've seen people do it with number 2.
Yeah, just basically just the run. So they
Just
they
the
don't take
run.
the time
go
to get the
them all.
monkeys or the scamper in between places that they need to go. They just run straight to the place.
So, like, jump
So-
carries a lot, but I still feel like where we put them is
Right.
fine.
It'd be safe to
Because-
put them with that and Megas.
Because,
with
yes,
how
jump
you
has a
would
ton
play.
of value early on with platforming, but platforming isn't hard early on to begin with.
Right.
It gets really annoying once you get to the nuclear power zone,
Yeah,
which ends up giving you one of the best cosmic nanos in the game.
Which we will get to right now.
Like, if it was a competition between the two, in terms of drain versus damage, I would take drain every time. And if it was in terms of heal area versus freedom, I would also take heal area every time. So he's just a bit underclassed compared to Eduardo, which is why he's a tier below. So now we're moving on to Professor Utonium, and he is probably the best Nano for movement. Just you look at his powers. Drain's like a great power. Great power to have. Not bad at all. But where he really shines, and that's what you know it's going to be a good Nano if Drain is his worst power. He has Jump Group and he's Rocket. Rocket is competing with Leech for best power in the game by far. It offers you so much mobility and control when you're platforming. You can change direction, you can change your speed, you can, judge a landing with Rocket very easily. And it's also perfect for obviously getting to new, places you couldn't normally jump to. And obviously Jump's a great power. We talked about how great of a power it was with Wilt. But Group Jump allows your friends to also benefit from the reward. The only problem is that you're normally going to choose Rocket over Group Jump every time. I know a lot of people who prefer Group Jump though. But it's no secret that Professor Utonium is often talked about as one of the best Nanos in the game, and I think everyone is right when they say that. He is definitely in the best category, for sure.
Yup.
Agreed.
I agree.
And Jump Group.
Now we could say
Jump
he's an
Group.
A because we're not valuing Jump enough
We're not
with
valuing
Wilt.
Jump as much.
But like we said early on, Jump isn't crazy useful because the platforming isn't hard to begin with.
No, but then you have your entire group. It doesn't mean like an area or that.
Yeah.
If you have a group and you have that jump, but Rocket's always
Rocket's one of the best parkour movement skills in the game.
Because you can also get around to places that you wouldn't be able to because you have that extra.
Or you have
Also,
to take an extra minute or two just.
Right.
also Drain is
So
good.
it is good. He's one of the Nanos that I believe is a true all-around good. Very good.
He's
How
got
do you-
strong movement. He can do very well as a supporting type of Nano with Drain and, Jump
Just for that mobility.
for the
I
extra
think-
mobility.
Normally, when I played, I was like, I didn't know what the professor did, and I was like, well, this is now interesting. So I picked it up, and I was like, bam, this is gonna be an automatic switch for even Ed, even though he's got like heal and everything. Rocket, his other two abilities are just
Yeah.
over the top.
Like, after I got Billy and I could get Utonium, I just skipped every side quest for level 12 and I got Utonium because I knew the value of Rocket was so strong.
Right.
All right, let's move on.
Let's move on to him. One of the most questionable choices for a Nano, and he does not have bad powers at all. He has a Drain, similar to Eduardo. He has a Freedom, similar to Billy, and he has a Area Heal, similar to Eduardo. So he's he's basically a straight upgrade from Eduardo. The only problem is he's Blast Dance and not Adaptium. Him actually has very, very good powers. Freedom, nothing to sneeze at. Drain, nothing to sneeze at all. And Area Heal is very good for utility when you need it to be. He is, I did say he was better than Eduardo, but he is not, I wouldn't say better than Buttercup. Actually, never mind. I'm going to put him right next to Buttercup. Because, my reasoning, Buttercup has a better heal than he does. They both share a heal, but Buttercup has a better heal. Him has a better source of damage. Buttercup has a stun. Him has a Drain. Drain wins. And then Buttercup also, kind of has Scavenge. Him has Freedom. They're sort of like these utility kind of abilities. I would say Scavenge is better, but I would definitely choose him over Didi and Eduardo every time. So I'm going to put them in the same tier. However, Buttercup still has an edge above him.
All right.
All right.
I agree with the placement.
I agree with the place. I think
I do, but he also did say earlier that self area heal is a lot worse than the rest of the heals.
It's not.
So
It's not.
I don't know why he put who does self area heal?
Eddie or Eduardo.
Eddie.
Eduardo.
So if he was saying that he has a heal, Eduardo should also be up at.
See, but here's the
A.
thing. When comparing
Okay.
him to Eduardo, yes, they both have a Drain. Yes, they both have a self-area hero. But then you got to compare Freedom to Radar.
Right.
And Radar is one of the worst passive skills in the game.
Mhm.
It's not needed.
It's not needed
travel around.
at all ever. Unless maybe you're boss hunting. But then again, people can find that so fast and you can get it online.
Right.
But when
So
comparing to Buttercup, he's right that Buttercup has a better advantage. I would pick Drain over Stun, but Group Heal is better and Scavenge Heal is better than Freedom.
Right. So I see. Yep. We're just gonna move on to blue.
Next, we got Blue Kazoo. Blue's bad. I'm just gonna say it straight up. Blue is very, very bad. Not as bad as Eduardo or Megas. But he's still, I'd say, very, very underpowered. He has Treasure Finder, which is garbage. He has Snare, which is garbage. So he basically shares all of Double D's powers, but he has a stun. And the stun does kind of save him a little bit. The only problem is his other two powers are just so not worth getting at all. He's easily outclassed by Billy. He's outclassed by Eduardo. He's outclassed by number 2. He's outclassed by Dexter. It's just like there's very little reason to use Blue. And really the only reason you would is if you get a stun. But I do want to put him in the worst category, but I just said he is better. He is outclassed compared to Double D and Mega, so I think I'm going to drop him in underpowered just because of the stun. Because at least the stun kind of redeems his Nano a little bit. And he's by far not like the worst Nano in the game. There are a couple more that would definitely fit into the bottom category. Actually, I'm gonna drop him into the worst because I don't want to put him next to Billy. Billy is miles better than Blue is, miles better. Actually, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna move Billy up, put Blue there. Perfect. So, I know I said Billy is kind of like a worse Eduardo, but he's not. It's similar to how him is like kind of like a worse Buttercup. But only by like a little bit. That's kind of the similar situation. So Billy's like a slightly worse Eduardo, but that doesn't really change the fact that he's in the same tier. Blue is better than these two for sure. I would definitely value him along the same as like Blossom. That's also the problem with working with only 5 tiers. I could make more, but I didn't want to get too confusing.
Okay, so he moved Billy up to move Blue into a spot.
Really want to put.
I don't think the stun is enough to carry Blue out of worst.
No, I don't.
Stun, when comparing to Double D, stun is better than what? Group Recall? But a stun cannot carry, like, one skill cannot carry 2 bad skills enough.
Right.
That's the problem with Wilt. Jump is good, but double snare. Double D is just terrible.
Yeah,
Megas
so
Sneak is good, but 2 sleeps is terrible.
I agree with Blue being
The worst.
I think he's one of the worst.
I don't think he's one of the worst, but he's better than Double D and he's better than Megas. I don't think the stun is enough to carry him out of the worst. Kind of like how Eddie is pulled down out of being the best because of guard, because nobody is ever picking guard on Eddie.
especially at such an early level too. Healing is the way to go.
Healing's the way to go, or if you have healing on Buttercup, Root Run is the way to go.
Right.
So Bubbles is next.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to click that. I have to get my remote control back. Alrighty. On to the next Nano.
Bubbles is pretty good, I would say. Bubbles is pretty good. She has a jump. She has a self jump, especially for a C slot. Jump is very, very useful. Damage, very, very useful. And then like Snare is whatever. Snare, no one's gonna pick Snare, but still, it's not the greatest power in the world. Bubbles is, she's good. She's just like a all around, I'd say, good Nano. I would argue that she is very, very valuable due to the fact that she's a C Nano with jump and a C Nano with damage. Both of those are not necessarily the most rare things. The only problem is she does get outclassed in 2 levels by Forearms, but we'll talk about him in a second. I would just say she's balanced at the moment. That's all I'm gonna say. She's balanced. Jump is very, very good. Damage very, very good, but she does get outclassed, especially when the person she gets outclassed by is 1, Professor Utonium, which you already have earlier, and 2 forearms, which we'll talk about in a second. So, moving.
I agree with the balance aspect.
Yeah.
Because she's not as bad as Buttercup, but she isn't as good as Eddie.
She's outclassed by Eddie and Utonium, but she's better than Blossom.
Right.
Yeah. Especially in that C tier where you already have Eddie, Utonium, kind of.
You're cutting out a little.
Oh, sorry. But what I had said was, Plutonium and Eddie are so much more valuable, and that takes on the other Bubbles as well, because she's like on a little lower, like she's still pretty low by the 2, but Plutonium and
So far, we do not have a bell. We have a pitchfork.
I know.
Right. And
Oh no.
but that's okay. It'll probably even out.
It'll
yeah.
hopefully even out.
But also I don't know if this is just me, but I usually think of like the C slot as your like support slot, not a damage slot.
Well, you haven't seen forearms.
Well,
Yeah, you haven't.
no. And you've got probably somebody who didn't really get as far as the other 2, and you got
I
somebody
mean, you're
that
literally
probably
one
almost
level away from forearms.
Right, and then you've got. So I have never beaten the game, or even gotten close to the end.
I haven't either. The best I got was Ed, and I didn't even get him.
Okay. Right. So we've got.
I'm at a spot.
All right, moving on.
Moving on.
Demungo.
Demongo.
Close enough.
Demongo is good. Demongo's pretty fine. He's got damage. He's got damage area, similar to Bubbles. He's got snare, also similar to Bubbles. But he does have a revive, which is, I would value it a little bit less than Bubbles, but obviously not as much, especially because they don't share the same slot. She's Cosmic, he's Adaptium. I'm going to throw him in Balanced, just because his powers are fine. His powers are great. He does suffer from the snare, unfortunately. However, his other powers greatly make up for it, and I'd put him along the same lines as like Billy and Eduardo. I'd value him about the same. So now we move on to.
So
I
with
agree.
Demongo, I get how he says he's a little less better than Billy, and not as great as Eduardo. So I put him where I put Billy, and that was C, because he's a little bit better than Billy, but I don't think he's balanced enough to be where Eduardo is.
Well, you gotta value. Well, the thing with Billy is what Billy's got cone and Demungo has area, and then you compare freedom to revive, which I think revive is better than
Right,
freedom.
revive is a lot better.
Self revive can end up being better than freedom.
Oh,
Because
right. I didn't put him in C. I put him in B.
yeah, I put
Yeah,
him in
he's-
B too.
Here's me. I'm like, wait.
And
why
then
did I
you're
put him in
comparing
C?
snare to sleep, which
You're right.
snare is better
Slightly better.
Better.
than sleep.
Right.
So
I was like, wait, because I don't have my tier list in front of me. I'm kind of going for what I remember.
yeah, so
Otherwise, anything else, or we'll just move on?
No, other than it looks like our princess is in another castle if you look sideways.
Oh my gosh.
alrighty.
Next one. Not the right game, but okay.
Forearms. Oof, baby. Forearms is also.
Do we have to really go into forearms?
We have to see what he says.
Let's
but
see
we
what he
gotta-
says, because
Okay,
there's
okay.
definitely something I want to disagree with.
Yeah.
This game before, you know what I'm going to say about Forearms. He is very, very good. He has Leech, which is kind of like a deal breaker already. Leech is best offensive power in the game. Scavenge is one of the best utility powers in the game. And then Sleep kind of brings him down a little bit. However, the fact that he has both Scavenge and Leech on a Cosmic slot Nano puts him in the best tier. He is by far one of the better Nanos to have, especially because you get him around the time where your C Nano slot is either Utonium or Eddie, and he can definitely outclass Utonium. It's him and Utonium and Eddie are all kind of like fighting for this C slot, and they're all equally worthy. Eddie for his heal, Utonium for his mobility, and Forearms for his damage / utility, depending on what you want.
With forearms, this is what I just disagree with. I don't believe that forearms, Utonium, and Billy or Eddie are not really contesting, there is a clear one is going to be better in this situation.
Um,
Because, Scavenge,
Scavenge is fantastic.
yeah, Scavenge is fantastic, Leech is fantastic. The only thing that hurts him is sleep.
Yeah, but I think having two of the best skills in the game definitely carries a lot of weight over sleep.
You're right.
Right.
So I don't like.
I
that's
think
what
he's an
disagree with.
S
I don't
because like
believe-
we can put him in A next to Eddie because of sleep, but then you're comparing
no,
Leech.
he's a lot better.
Then you're
He's
comparing
a lot
Leech to
better.
heal and Group Run to Scavenge, which
Yeah, I put him in S.
he
Yeah,
like
I put him in as well.
like any Nano with Leech, unless their two skills are like Treasure Hunt and Guard, are going to be an S.
Right, because I don't like even then. I don't believe that
I don't believe Eddie's
it's
better
really
than Forearms.
Eddie's not even in contention at this point.
The fight
because
for C
Leech-
slot at this point is Utonium or
Yeah.
Forearms.
Because again, Leech gives you heals anyway. So what's the point of having Eddie, which just gives the heal instead of Forearms, who damages and heals it back?
Well, the heal is stronger on self heal and stuff like that on the heal
But
skill.
you're still sustainability wise, Leech is probably one of.
It's better than heal, that's for sure, because you're also doing.
I think they're
damage
even, but
and
Leech
everything.
just does more overall than heal.
Right. All right, moving on.
Number one is also a very good Nano. He is, I think he's better classed than both of the Blastons Nanos in A tier. He's got a damage, he's got a regular heal, and he's got a bonus. So he's similar to Buttercup. There are a little bit of trades though. So I wouldn't necessarily, actually I take that back, I wouldn't necessarily class him higher than Buttercup. I'd say he's about even with Buttercup, so I'm going to put him here, but I'm going to keep talking about him. So basically he has damage, which is better than her stun. He has heal, which is, it kind of mulligans with her heal. Her heal is actually a bit better because it does work with groups. And then, of course, she has Scavenge, she has bonus. And I would value Scavenge a lot higher than bonus. But it's not big enough for him to jump an entire tier and move to the top tier. That's just my opinion. I think he's a very, very strong Nano to use. He's probably like one of the strongest. I know Blastons has a lot of strong hitters, but he's a very, very strong Blastons Nano, and I would value him at the around the same level as Buttercup and him.
Okay, so wait, what level do you get number one again? Level
18.
13?
You get him after Forearms. So
Four-
seven.
okay,
so
so
7.
18.
Yeah.
So at this point,
I agree.
at this point, it's like level 16. You need. Well, we kind of made this thing up where level 16 is where you should have a Scavenge Nano in your slot if you're
Yeah.
looking to get through the game faster than you would without it.
You can
if
actually
we're-
find
if-
disparity if you don't use Scavenge around maybe early 20s
Right.
Yeah.
because
And
you just
so-
don't get enough fusion matter.
No.
Which
I
is what
think
I'm at
like
point.
I don't think he's better than Buttercup, but
No.
he might be in contention with him. But bonus,
Um,
I think, really shoots him down.
I think freedom's better than
Because-
bonus, but
Right.
I would pick drain over damage, and his the heals kind of mulligan each other because it's a heal
Right.
regardless.
Right. So I put him in balance just because he had
You're
bonus.
putting him. Whoa, you put him in
Whoa.
balance.
No,
I didn't-
I think he's in A.
I think he's an A. I think he
Okay.
is he's similar to him, like completely, almost. They have a
Right.
few like freedom and drain are kind of valued over the damage and bonus.
Oh, but you just don't think it's enough to
I
move him
don't
down
think
to
it's enough to
balance.
shove him down on the same level as DD.
Okay.
Yeah. I
And
definitely
also
agree.
comparing
Okay.
to like
I
to
under-
Eddie, like Eddie's self heal and group run, carry him in A.
Oh, right. I forgot we put Eddie in there. That's
Eddie's
right.
in A because his self heal and group run carry him in A. If
Right.
if he didn't have group run or if he didn't have self heal,
He'd be
if
down.
guard was like considered the worst passive in the game, I'd put him in B.
Right.
But
that was
his two
okay, I
skills
see where
carry
that-
him enough. But saying that number one is as good as DD is
Huge.
really underpowering the character.
Right. All right. Let's move on.
So we're moving on to our second half of the Nano lineup now. We have Mojo Jojo. He's got a
Just a quick thing. You get guides in the middle of the game. Which guides don't have a specific Nano tailored to them? Because I know Double D does.
All of them do.
Mojo
Oh,
Jojo.
Ben
Ben-
10.
No, technically Ben does with his evolve forms.
Well, no, but we don't
No,
have
but
like
Ben does not have
10
a
and his-
Ben Nano.
Ben
Nano.
Nano, yeah.
I think he's the only one that doesn't have a Ben Nano.
Because they're all based on his aliens.
Freedom, he's got Drain, and he's got Guard. Not necessarily the greatest selection of powers. It's a very, very respectable selection of powers, though. I've talked a little bit about Freedom. It's a lot more valuable than people kind of lead it on to be. Drain also very, very valuable. Guard kind of holds him back. The big thing with Mojo is I'm gonna put him in balanced because I think he's very, very balanced of a Nano. The biggest thing with Mojo is that he is outclassed by him for his Drain. He's outclassed by number 1 Buttercup, number 5. This kind of like 4-stack up here kind of outclasses him, and I put him around the same level as DD. So Mandark.
So I think this one can definitely be talked about.
Right, because really you have Guard, which I think takes him out of A entirely. But then you also have Freedom Group, which literally just stops them from stunning you, sleeping you, and draining you, basically.
They don't sleep you, they just stun you and...
Well, yeah. Yeah. Other than that, I think that he's, like...
I think he's
not
underpowered.
He's not better than DD.
I don't think
Damage
Drain
way
is
better than
enough and Freedom is enough to carry him on the same level as DD.
Right, because
I mean, he's definitely better than like Magus, Wilt, and all this other stuff.
He's better than Wilt, like 100%.
100% better than Wilt, and 100%.
I mean, we could value him in Hay because once you hit level 19, 20, Freedom can become a little more useful.
Right, because then more monsters are using.
More monsters are gonna have Drain or Stun. More monsters are gonna be able to use their Nano targeting skills.
Right.
So
I think this
if there was a B- or C+, he'd fit right in the middle there. But we have to put him in B or we have to put him in C.
I think if we're gonna give him the benefit of the doubt, we'd put him in balance just because Freedom does help later in the game.
And Drain is a very good skill.
Right.
And the thing is with that, and it's like you have to compare that to DD. It's like DD is a whole lot worse.
But DD has 2 damaging skills and a group revive.
That too.
So
it also depends on playstyle. So
I think we put him in B.
Yeah,
he's not better than DD, but he's not significantly worse that he's shoved down to C.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right, let's move on. We got a little bit left.
I think we're halfway there, and we still got a pitchfork.
Another Blastons Nano. He has Stun. He's Group Jump, which is very, very valuable, and he has Antidote. I'm also going to say that he is kind of in this balanced state. Group Jump is a really, really good power. Stun and Antidote, not quite as much, but they still have uses. But then again, if you wanted a Group Jump, Utonium is probably your better bet. If you use Utonium for Rocket, then Mandark as your Group Jump makes quite a lot of sense to grab, actually. Actually, I think I might bump him up a little bit, just because of that. Nah, I'm just going to leave him imbalanced.
So
I agree.
If you had Plutonium, why would there need to be a Group Jump?
Because maybe everybody on your team doesn't have Utonium with Rocket.
But then he's also saying that a stun is just a stun. When Buttercup has a stun.
We have to realize like his other 2 skills actually have some value because we can compare this to Blue,
Like,
where he has a stun, but he has Treasure Find and Snare compared to Antidote and Group Jump. And he's kind of the same as Mojo because he has 1 skill that affects monsters and 2 that affect your group and or are passive.
Right, and I would always...
Would I value Drain over Stun? 100%. But I think Group Jump and Freedom share the same value, and then Antidote is better than Guard.
Antidote is a lot better than Guard. So, yeah,
especially now, in this time of the game, there's a lot more infected fusion matter on the ground.
Oh, the construction zone is terrible.
Right, it is very bad.
No, you're past the construction zone at this point. You're like in the Northlands where there's...
No, he's in the construction zone. You literally get Mandark in the construction zone.
Oh, sorry, I thought I'm going way too far.
It's okay. A little too far.
It's kind of looking like our list is they're good,
Riot,
they're bad.
Pitchfork.
Right. They're good at the top, they're bad at the bottom, and they're
I feel like it'll fill out more right now. There are
Right,
definitely some that could easily fill C and A in these next few.
Right, because we still have like.
We've
We still
Mojo
have
Mojo was
6
halfway point.
gold. We still need 16.
Mojo
Right.
is the halfway point.
All right, let's move on to Grim.
This
Grim.
is pretty easy.
Grim is going to be a bit of a
Very-
surprise. I'm not sure a lot of people really see the value of Grim. Grim is by far the best Nano in the game. If you're in a group, if you're in a full 4-stat group, Grim is a must-have in at least one of the 4 Nano squads. Because his powers, they're all group powers. He has heal group, run group, and revive group. So if you're in a group and at least one of your group members has Grim, you have heals for the whole group. So necessarily not everyone needs to waste a slot. Not necessarily waste a slot, but use a slot up for a heal Nano. If you have run, then you have group run. You can run, and people wouldn't have to use a slot on a run Nano. And revive. You have a way to heal or revive your teammates when they get knocked down. I'm gonna throw Grim up into the best category, with a little bit of an asterisk next to him. If you're playing solo, he's not the greatest. He has great powers for sure, but he's not up to the level of these guys. If you're in a group, he's the best Nano in the game, I think, in my opinion.
So this is.
I mean,
you go first.
also he says, in my opinion here, but run is not valued as much anymore with the vehicles, basically.
Right, because you're now 10 levels up. You're already 10 levels from unlocking the vehicles. So run is basically off the chart unless you have somebody that doesn't have a vehicle, which is beyond stupid because vehicles are not as expensive as they.
Vehicles are really cheap.
Unless you get the new Christmas ones that came out and you have to blow
100,000. 100,000.
But then again, Taros isn't a hard thing to acquire in the game.
Right, unless you use them for like cosmetics and stuff, they're not hard to.
I literally gained all of my money back from that, or half of that money back.
So I want to say that the big person we get to compare Grim to is Eddie.
Right.
Because they both
So
have a
if he's-
heal, they both have group run, but I would value group revive over guard any day.
Oh yeah.
But
Oh,
I
definitely.
don't think group revive is strong enough to carry him into S.
No, I thought he was A.
I thought it was A.
I mean, group play, he's most likely.
Group play,
S,
he's like the best Nano in the game.
But for solo play, it doesn't make him better than what we have.
It doesn't make him better than Eddie, but it puts him on the same level as Eddie, but not strong enough to get up there with Forearms and Utonium and Buttercup and number 5.
Right.
And we keep saying this, but like Grim's group play, that is huge. That is unbeatable by anybody else.
Oh yeah, Grim's probably one of a Nano you will always see if you go into a group to fight Fuse.
And if he had if his abilities that were group were better, even if you played a solo, yes, he'd be up in it. Since he's super huge as a group, kind of a little bit little as a solo play. That's why I ended up.
All right. Let's move on to Dexter.
So we're gonna move on to Dexter. Dexter is also a very popular Nano. He has okay powers. He has very decent powers. He has a rocket, which is always very, very useful. I love rocket. Group sneak, same as number 5 or Megas. Like there are uses for it. It's not necessarily the best or the worst power, but there are uses. And then recall is kind of
really
bad.
have-
But I think the rocket alone kind of single-handedly puts him up into this valuable category. He's a very, very valuable Nano to have. If you give him rocket, he kind of takes up that A slot for movement. And he does it pretty well. He's not necessarily outclassed by too much. Grim with group run and Samurai Jack eventually will outclass him, but no one else really in the Adaptium slot really has a way to provide the movement that Dexter does. Not necessarily in the way that he does it, at least, because there's no other Adaptium rockets, and then the jumps and the runs aren't necessarily as good, except for Grim and Samurai Jack, as we'll get to. So
He went on the fact of Rocket literally put him up in A.
Oh, it does carry him up today.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
it does carry him up in the A. But then he also said that Recall Self is one of the worst at that point.
Recall Self.
When
I mean, yeah,
I think
Recall.
what- I
I mean, but remember, you're getting to that point where you've hit mid game, and you're slightly getting towards end game.
Right.
where you're hitting these larger infected zones, these more dangerous infected zones, and recall could actually have a possible use.
Right.
Right.
And then,
But then
like,
you're also taking out rocket, which means if you're gonna get a rocket, you have to have Utonium in there.
Because, like, I would rather have Rocket than number 2 with Run, Eduardo with Heal or Drain, Bubbles with Jump or Damage, Domungo with Stun or Revive. I would rather have Rocket
Right.
over all of those.
Right. He
But I could see him on the
definitely-
same level as Grim because you can choose Run compared to Rocket.
right.
Right.
And like, I was thinking about this too. Like, if that recall was actually a group, he would definitely be an S because then he has 2 abilities, strong abilities, in fact, to the end game, like Rocket and
I don't think Group
Neat.
Recall will be enough to carry him into S because then you're comparing him to, like,
right.
you're saying he's better than Grim
Like,
late game compared
there's
to
a-
groups.
There's a chance, but in any case, he would have to.
I think he'd still be an A if it was group because
Right.
then if you're doing that, then you're saying all of Grim's group
right.
skills are worse than Group Recall and Group Sneak.
Right.
So
I agree.
All right. Let's move on to Vilgax if we really need to talk about him.
After Dexter,
I
we're going to
think
move
we
on
do.
to Vilgax. Vilgax is, he's okay. The difference between him is he has 2 bad powers and a good power, which is Run. Similar to number 2. Number 2 is like a bad power, an okay power, and a good power. The difference is that number 2 is level 2. Vilgax is level 23. By level 23, you'll have a vehicle, which makes Run very, very not the most valuable power that you can have. It would only be useful for running in infected zones and fusion layers, which is few and far between, because you'll normally have a vehicle for the overworld. So because of that, his run power is a lot less valuable, and I would say that it makes him a underpowered Nano. I was gonna say the worst. I was gonna put him in the worst, but I don't think he deserves to be put in the worst, just because it's a Cosmics run. Eddie does outclass him, but normally you're gonna hit the heal for Eddie anyway, and you're not gonna need that. And even though you will have a vehicle by this point for sure, it doesn't necessarily mean that you won't need his run for infected zones. Oh, excuse me, infected zones or fusion layers. Just because it is pretty useful. And then radar and group recall. Group recall does have like some uses in Green Maw Dark Tree especially, and Fuse's Lair, but like it's not necessarily the best, which is why I'm gonna put him on underpowered. Now we get to Swampfire.
I agree with underpowered.
I can agree with that
Yeah.
because
The only thing that
yeah,
the
go
really
first.
thing that keeps him out of D is the group recall. The group recall. Really,
I think the
takes
only
him out
thing
of
that keeps
D.
him out of D is Double D is the worst Cosmic in the game.
That
Right.
too.
that too.
If you put them
I
next,
think if you put them next to each other, Radar and Treasure are both equally bad.
but it's that third ability that
Yeah,
really
you're comparing a Snare to Run because they both have a recall.
and run is always better than.
Snare.
Yep. And now it's kind of filling up.
And
Our-
now
our
it's
list
starting
is
to,
kinda
it's starting to
filling
fill up, but we're gonna get another worse Nano right here.
Oof,
Ah,
yeah.
Definitely
Here we are
agree.
moving on to Swampfire.
One of the worst
Swampfire's a
Cosmics
really,
in the
really
game.
easy one to talk about. I'm just going to shove him in the worst. If you'll notice, if you guys remember, he has the exact same powers as Megas. The exact same ones. The only difference is that he's Cosmics. That doesn't necessarily help his case at all. He's still outclassed by all of these Cosmic Nanos up here. I would rather have any of them on my team other than Swampfire. Sneak is probably his best power, and even then, he gets outclassed by other characters who have Sneak. Especially eventually, like number 3 just completely outclasses him when you get there. So I think he's one of the worst. And there's really not much to that. So we're gonna get Mandy.
I mean, he's not wrong.
He's not wrong. It's D.
This is pretty simple. Swampfire's
Just
D.
basic-
He's literally a Cosmic. He's literally a yellow Megas.
Megas.
There's not really anything to discuss.
There's not really anything to discuss.
I mean, like even at that point, you're talking Swampfire is even worse than Megas because Megas has a group sneak.
I'd
and he
pick
only has
Swampfire over
self-sneak.
Double D, but Swampfire is still as bad as Megas.
Yeah.
Right. All right, moving on to Mandy.
Mandy's next. Mandy's not necessarily the best either. She has Treasure Finder and Recall, which are not great powers. She has Group Run though. Group Run is pretty valuable, especially when you're traveling in groups along with Grim. My problem is she does get outclassed pretty easily by Grim especially, but like she gets outclassed by pretty much all the Blastons in A tier and above. But Group Run is useful. It is very, very useful. But it's not really useful enough to warrant her getting out of underpowered, especially because Vilgax kind of fills the same role as her. They have like pretty much the same powers. The only problem is that Mandy is a bit better than Vilgax just because of her Group Run compared to his Self Run.
I agree with that.
Agree. That's pretty agreeable.
Yeah.
Rip Mandy.
Nothing really much to talk about that one. Treasure Finder doesn't make her balanced, and Recall Self, if you're playing by yourself, is a lot better.
But in the end, like Group Run is better than Self Run.
I have never seen anybody take on Fuse by themselves.
Well, and no crap, it's the final boss.
Right. So
It's the final boss. What do you expect?
at the end, you kind of need that group
Yeah.
if you're looking for like
course.
a full 4 stack with a support.
We don't have much to talk about with Mandy. Let's not get off track. Move on!
Let's go.
Coco.
Next is Coco. Coco's not the greatest either. See, some of this mid tier, or these mid game nanos, they're not the best. Guard, Freedom Group, Stun. It's okay. It's not the best. It's not the worst. Guard is pretty useless, but Stun has its uses as well, and so does Group Freedom. Not the greatest. I'm still going to put Coco. I'm gonna put her in underpowered just because I would rather have Billy on my team for the not necessarily the freedom, but just for like the damage on the stun. Her freedom is a lot better than Billy's just because it is a group variant. But I would rather have Billy for damage. Actually, I'm gonna put her in balance just because her freedom is better than Billy's, but Billy's damage out option is a lot better than Coco's. But they kind of like mulligan out and cancel out a little bit there. All right.
All right.
She's in D.
I forgot.
I think
She's in C.
She's in C
No
because
I didn't mean to say D.
Guard is never better. I don't even remember Billy's third ability, but it is not
It
better
was
than Guard.
Sleep. So they're
Yeah,
equally as
that is
bad.
not even better as Guard. So if
But
you,
I mean, we still have him on the same place as Billy though in our list.
yeah,
But like, this is where I make a comparison because Coco is literally the blue mojo JoJo, except
Right,
instead of
literally.
Drain, she has a stun.
Right.
And
Right.
Drain has
Mojo
more
JoJo.
value over
stun.
stun.
So that's basically why we put her down in C.
Right.
Yeah.
And not balanced.
Now we've got our build.
It's coming
it's
along.
getting there.
It's kind of
It's getting
flat on
there.
the sides, but
That's fine. But moving on to Mac.
low
We don't-
Mac.
We don't have any adapt.
Mac is all.
That is true. We do not have any Adaptiums in.
We'll get one here at the end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we should be getting one.
There's
yeah.
at least one that belongs in ours.
Mac is very, very similar to Dexter, I would say. So I'm going to put him right next to Dexter. Mac is very similar to Dexter based on the fact that they both have Rocket. However, and they both have Sneak as well. That's kind of weird. But they both have Rocket, which is great power. Sneak is okay. Dexter outclasses him with his Sneak. And they both have like kind of useless powers with Recall and Sleep. So I'm going to throw them together in the valuable tier. I think Rocket makes him extremely valuable regardless of what his other powers are. But is not valuable enough to get into like the best tier.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rocket.
Yep, pretty much.
Rocket
Rocket
carries.
brings it up to A. A rocket is never a balanced thing.
No, Rocket's disgusting.
Sleep doesn't even change it because you're always gonna pick Rocket if you don't already have.
Yeah,
Rocket.
if you pick nothing but Rocket on Mac, you're weird.
Right. All right, moving on.
All right, number three. Number three is kind of similar to Grim. Very, very useful if you travel in groups a lot. The only problem is she is kind of like a not an upgrade compared to Grim, a downgrade, just because she has the group heal. Her instead of a revive group, she has revive self, and instead of a run, she has a sneak. So it does have its own purpose. It does have purposes. But it's sort of just like a downgrade to Grim, like sort of just like a worse Grim, and it's so good. It's still very, very good. The heal is very, very good. Revive is very useful, and especially group like Sneak has its uses. The only problem is I would not kind of like put her in the same category as like Buttercup and Dexter and Mac. I would kind of put her similar to Just for C nanos, I'd put her similar to Bubbles. That's where I kind of would value her.
I agree with that one.
If we had an A- or B+ tier, she'd go there.
Yeah.
Right. But
Because she's
I'm
better
only-
than Bubbles, but she's not better than Grim.
and he was definitely right when he said that Grim was like super much better than number 4. To be honest,
Number 3.
number 3. Sorry, it's been a while.
4's next. Or coming up.
Sorry,
Number
3 for number 3. Like, yeah, I agree that Grim is better by far. I definitely agree that she is balanced. Had something other than a self revive.
Yeah.
I think the only spot that I would see number 3 is, yeah, with that 4 stack, and you want to make sure that you stay alive so you can support the team for longer.
Hmm. That's why I said if there was a B+, A-, she'd probably go
Right.
in the middle right there.
All right, let's move on.
Oh, Hex, unfortunate. So Hex has 2 really big problems. One is that his powers are bad, like group recall, sleep, run. Run isn't bad, but the biggest thing about Hex is that he is completely outclassed by Mandy, who you get 1, 2, 3, 4 levels earlier. She is a Blaston's Nano. He's a Blaston's Nano. They're both their best powers. They have 2 useless powers and run. The only difference is her power is run group, his is run self. So Hex gets pretty much completely outclassed by Mandy, which makes he also gets completely outclassed by other movement kind of enabled nanos like Mandark. He also gets outclassed by number 5 for sure, like all of them up here. So he's not necessarily a great choice of a nano in my opinion. I think he's probably one of the weakest in the game. And then we go straight.
I
don't agree that he's the worst.
I don't agree that he's the worst either, because in this part of the game, you're valuing group recall.
Yeah, you might be a little bit more valuable in group recall.
Right.
But we literally can compare him to Vilgax. And Vilgax is in C because of run. Now, I can kind of see why Mandy is better because of group, but her skills are just as bad.
Yeah.
Right.
And
So
if
put
you
her
are
up in
playing by
C.
yourself and you get run on Mandy, there's literally no difference.
Right.
So I
think he's
definitely
in C.
believe that he's underpowered.
Yeah. I don't think he's the worst. He is definitely, if you are in a group, worse than Mandy.
Mhm.
But if you're playing solo, you could easily pick him up over Vilgax or Mandy, depending if you like the character more or not.
Right. And a lot of people just pick them because they look cool or something.
Or
We're not going by aesthetics or anything.
Right. We're not in aesthetics either. All right, moving on to Juniper Lee.
Juniper Lee. This is going to be pretty obvious.
From one of the weakest in the game
Yeah.
to what I believe is one of the strongest in the game. That's Juniper Lee. Disregard the fact that Juniper Lee's my favorite show. No bias.
No,
Really?
Really, no bias. You've been
I
saying
mean,
I
there
all
isn't
the
any
time.
bias here. I 100% agree with what he's about to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just look at her power. She has a leech similar. She is just following the pattern. All the other leeches are top tier. She has a jump, which jump is a very, very valuable power. And of course, snare, no, not the best. But a lot of these nanos up here don't necessarily have the best powers either. But I think the leech and the jump alone are more than enough to shoot her into top tier status. Also, because she is an A slot, if you're not using Grim, she's one of the best A nanos to have. She outclasses Dexter, I would say, in terms of damage and utility. Dexter probably a bit better with the movement, but still Juniper Lee brings her own stuff to the table. And I think she just kind of outclasses all the other A nanos, and definitely deserves her spot in the top tier.
I definitely do
Yeah.
agree.
I agree for just on solo play. She has a lot better solo play than Grim will have group play.
I mean, and she has
Um,
leech, one of the best
Even-
damaging skills
well,
in the game.
Also, the thing is that would be a like kind of like something bad about it, is that we didn't care for jump. We said that jump.
No,
really
I
did
said
make a
jump had a lot
difference.
of value because
Right.
Mandark's in balance with group jump, and number three,
Right.
Bubbles is in has jump in balance as well. It's just Wilt's main fall is that jump is not
has the two-
incredibly useful early on,
Right.
and he has 2 snares.
At least with Juniper Lee, she has 3 separate abilities that 2 that can be fine, that are really good,
then
And
when
at
that's
this point, you have every rocket nano in the game. So you can
Right.
decide to have Utonium, Juniper, Buttercup for Scavenge. You can choose to have, Mac and Forearms to fit those roles instead for Leech and for Scavenge. Or for
Alright.
Rocket.
Alrighty, final 6, starting with number 4.
He's a pretty good one.
This is number 4. Number 4 is he's okay. He's just okay. I would say like group revive is great. Area heal is great. And drain is great. Like he's definitely a better number 3, I would say. He definitely has a lot more versatility, not versatility, it's not even a word. He has a lot more versatility and he has a lot more flexibility in the team comp than number 3 does. And I'm going to throw him up here into the valuable category just because he does have some great powers, and they're not necessarily like top tier powers, but you can definitely make it work. No matter what power you pick, he has a lot of flexibility in the team comp. Poor old.
I agree.
I think it was kind of, the revive group, that's pretty good.
Well, okay,
like-
okay, so I'm gonna bring this up. Now, I think that he
literally-
possibly has a spot in S, but is he better than Eddie?
No,
Mm-mm.
not a chance.
He's not better than Eddie. You're saying self-heal, group run, guard is better than group revive, self-area, and drain.
Sorry, I was putting my charger.
Yeah.
Because, like, again, he's one of those nanos where if there was a middle spot, he would go right there.
Right
Yeah.
there.
He would
But
go
then
right
we
in
have
the
to
middle
say,
spot.
does drain, and the revive
Carry more
make him
value
more
than
Right.
group run and
and
guard.
guard.
I think it does, but it's
I
not
think it
enough
does.
to be on equal playing field as Utonium and Forearms.
Right. Yeah.
So just on that, we could just put him down.
Put him right back in.
All right, final 5 on to
Heading
Ed.
to the bottom of the tier list again.
Ed.
Yep.
Poor old
Oof.
Ed. If you look at Ed's powers, he has sleep. He has radar, and he has snare. 3 genuinely useless powers. I love Ed to bits. I love doubling Ed to bits, but unfortunately they just got the short end of the stick when it came to nano powers, and theirs are really, really bad. So I'm gonna make Ed low tier.
Agreed.
there's just no conversation.
There's
no
really no
conversation about that.
conversation.
Except for Eddie.
Actually, I do want
got-
to say this. If there was a tier under D, it's where
He'd
Ed
be
would
right
go.
there.
Yeah.
He is actually unplayable.
Ed is
basically.
probably the best character from Ed, Ed, and Eddie, but we don't go off of love for the character. We go off of
Right.
usability in the game, and sadly, Ed is terrible.
All right, let's move on. Courage, 4 left.
We got Courage. On the flip side, I would say Courage is actually really, really, really good. He has a heal, he has a scavenge, and he has a drain, which is better than Buttercup, basically, just like a direct upgrade from Buttercup. So I'm gonna put him top. I would compare him very much to Juniper Lee. Juniper Lee obviously is a much better damage option. But Courage has 3 really great powers. He has a heal as well, which she does not have. She only has like the small heal on her leech. He has Scavenge, which is one of the best utility in the game. So I would kind of compare him to Juniper Lee. They kind of go back and forth, and I would rank them about similar.
Yeah.
I agree where you put him.
Yeah.
It's basically like
Oh,
what he
really?
said. He's a basic upgrade to Buttercup at that stage.
I mean, that's just strictly at the comparison of stun to drain.
right.
I'd say they're on the same, because we put
Right.
Buttercup in S tier, Courage also belongs in S tier, strictly
Right.
because, like, group heal compared to self heal, stun compared to drain, and scavenge is similar. Group heal has its values late game, self heal is good, healing is just good overall, but stun is worse than drain. So,
And that comes
stun to
back
drain mulligans, group heal to heal mulligans, and scavenge is one of the best passive skills in the game until you reach max level.
Right,
I
and
definitely-
even then, basically, this is what I came back to. You could have level 1 through 5 nanos in your final slot.
Oh,
Like,
you can have any
could have
nanos, it
courage.
doesn't
You
matter.
could have courage be scavenge, and then bring back Eddie as the self heal. if you really want
Or even
to.
rock out with like Mac as Rocket and like Forearms as
Right.
Leech.
Right. Because I think that there's a lot of, since we have a lot of Blastons in that S tier,
No, we have
like,
3. We have 2.
yeah.
No, we have 2 of each.
But we
Yeah,
have
there's
number
2 of each
5.
right now, actually.
But number 5 is what we call, quote unquote, the best Blaston. So if you had
I
Courage
mean,
number 5,
she's the
and
best damaging Blaston in the game.
right.
Right.
And if you put Courage as Scavenge and Eddie as healing, then
Yeah.
if you're not gonna go damage, then
Yeah.
Plus, even if we're really thinking about like Fuse's Lair, for instance, if you can even take out Scavenge, Scavenge is pretty much useless after once you get to the mission of fighting Fuse
be a
and all
drain.
that other stuff.
Of course,
so
of course.
you
Could-
can switch out Courage for like Relief, for instance, because she does a lot better than Courage. After like
Or
when
Grim, because you're going to
Yeah.
Fuse's Lair with a group of people.
Mhm.
right.
All right. Final 3.
Then we got Jack. Jack also is a very, very valuable Nano. I wouldn't say he's as valuable as Juniper Lee or as Courage, but he definitely is really, really good with the group jump and the damage. And even Antidote isn't necessarily like the worst thing in the world, especially later in the game. There are a lot more places where you can get like infected damage that Antidote might be helpful for. I am going to put him up here in valuable, just because I think he's a very, very good Nano.
I can agree with that.
I can agree with that. There is kind of,
Again, he's in that middle of
right. He'd be in the.
A
I think
He's
he's in the middle
of the road
being A.
because he's a glorified Mandark, because instead of stun, he has damage.
Right, and if you really rely on that antidote,
But saying
then-
but saying he's as good as number 2 in Eduardo and Domingo
No.
is
That's
really
an
Underpowering the
yeah,
character.
underpowering the character. Because
right?
you could swap him out for Dexter.
Plus,
Yeah, any day.
literally, the only thing that makes him go into A tier, in my opinion, is Antidote because it's just a crap ton of
Yeah,
Fusion
late game
power.
Antidote is really
Right.
strong.
right.
Because it literally everywhere is just toxic.
It doesn't
fusion
shoot
damage.
him up in the S because of kind of that.
No, he's not as
poison.
good as Juniper or Courage in any way,
No,
shape, or form.
he is not
Right.
even on the same level of Juniper.
Yeah, not even close.
But it does. He is a for.
All right, on to Aku.
Bless you.
Then we got 2 more left. We have Aku. Aku has pretty respectable, I would say, respectable powers. He has a stun, he has bonus, and he has damage. In terms of like the C slot, he kind of gets outclassed by number 4. He gets outclassed by Utonium for sure. He gets outclassed by like Forearms, Eddie. But it's not necessarily like the worst. I would put him around the same like kind of area as Bubbles and number 3, so I'm gonna throw him in balanced. And then we have
I agree with
Yeah,
that one.
I definitely agree.
Definitely not better than number 4, but is on the same line with Bubbles.
I'd pick him over number 3, but I wouldn't pick
Yeah.
number 3 over 4.
And do we really need to discuss the last one? Or
No, well,
We'll
have
see
to
where he,
find out.
we will see where he puts them, and then we will just discuss from there, because
basically the tier list will be complete, and then we'll just say our.
At this point, you're looking at what Nano is going to get me through Fuse the fastest.
or just
So-
what's gonna help you fill your role when going into Fuse's Lair.
Right.
Right.
All right, let's move on to the last but not least, Humongosaurus.
Humongosaur.
one final Nano to go.
Humongosaur.
I wish it could end it
Humongosaurus.
on like a good note, but Humongosaur isn't necessarily the best.
No.
In terms of freedom's a good power, but he does get outclassed by a lot of other freedom nanos. He get like Blossom is just as good, if not better, in terms of like a freedom C slot. His damage is respectable, but snare is not necessarily the best. Since he gets kind of outclassed by Blossom, I am gonna put him in underpowered, just because he has a freedom self, she has a freedom group, she outclasses him, and he also has, but he outclasses her in terms of damage because he has a damage, she only has a stun. All right, thank you.
All right, yeah, I agree in the C tier because he's better than Buttercup, but he's
But I would
not
still
better
have him.
than-
I'd rather have him over Swampfire or Double D.
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right, so we have our tier list.
Eh,
Somehow we
the
went
bell-
from a pitch port. We went from a pitch port.
The bell is
pitchfork
there.
to a bell curve.
It's there.
Yes,
And-
it is there.
There is. I
Now,
kinda think that this is
comparing it
averaged
to
out-
his, we definitely put a lot more value on some other nanos, and a lot less value on some other nanos. Like Blue is in the worst, Will is in the worst.
Right. And
Coco's
looking
not.
at our tier list, it kind of makes that almost perfect bell curve that, except for since there's 36, we can't have like an official like pyramid up and down or like a triangle up and down. But I would say that this group of nanos is basically balanced, averaged out to be balanced.
Yeah.
Because there's not too many in S, and there's not too many in D, and then in the middle, it's kind of the biggest.
Yeah, I mean that's what we're going for. We want a bell curve. His
Right.
his bell's a little bulkier on top. But
And the thing is that he's got so many imbalance when there is definitely some that are better.
yeah,
But he also put on that they were kind of the same,
yeah,
but each nano has a different set of
yeah.
situations that they're going to be in.
Now, when Legacy comes out, there will be other nanos added, and we don't know when they're going to add possibly the Academy update, if they will
Right.
ever add that, because there
Is
are
it
more.
the Academy?
It's
I
the
forget what
Academy.
was added to the Academy update.
A lot of the more recent cartoons that were coming out at the time, like Finn and Jake and
I think
Gumball.
they're putting it in Legacy.
Are they all putting it in Legacy?
They are putting
I
it all in Legacy.
I think what they should. This is my opinion. What I think they should do is they should just not bring in like the Academy and everything, and just continue working on Legacy. Because when I saw a trailer for Legacy, it was like, or what I thought was what looked to be the beginning of what Retro is. It was kind of like everybody getting together, but there was like Gumball and all these other new characters. But then it was like something had happened. That was the trailer.
Yeah.
It was very interesting because I was like, well, this could actually be a huge thing because now the Johnny Test sisters are in there, was in the trailer as well, and I was like, that's gonna be very interesting. Now these new nanos,
Oh, yeah, I
and there's
forgot they
possibly
added
gonna
him
be
too.
there's gonna be new powers possibly as well. So
Oh, I mean, we'll see. So, I think you two should state the differences that were made compared to his.
Right.
Just going from top to bottom.
So S basically we have all the scavenge, and
Rocket and
we have
Leech.
basically
Well,
Rocket, Leech, and Scavenge. We thought were
Leech and Scavenge
very
are nice.
valuable.
Rocket is good, but the
If-
other two who have it aren't
Right.
as good as you
It was
told me.
A. B is like these are not they're not necessarily an upgrade to characters in S or A. C is you don't these are really just situational characters.
They have characters that easily outclass them.
Right. And then D tier is like
Don't
if
ever
you
use them.
don't ever
Don't
you
use them.
you never need to use characters.
Now, compared to his list, who was moved from tiers? Compared to the community manager's list, who has different? Who did we
Wilt.
place differently compared to him?
Wilt.
Wilt is a first giveaway.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Especially when we ended up taking away from like jumping. Yeah, it's a good power like in the middle and end game where the fusion zones get bigger and there's a lot
Monkey
more
foothill.
parkour and stuff like that. And in the early, it's not very useful considering that the Pokey Oaks North Infected Zone, it's okay and everything.
It's pretty
then
lined
Peach
up for
Creek-
you.
And Peach Creek Estates, you kind of have that mobility of like cannons all around.
Number two,
going around
there's
the
cannons to get around.
Right, and that's why we ended up putting him in D. Another one that we had switched was when we switched right away was Eddie and Buttercup.
Yeah.
Buttercup is extremely better than Eddie.
Just-
Even her being a Blaston and Ed being a Cosmic, they do end up working together early game, but Buttercup ends up having an edge throughout middle and end, considering that she has Scavenge.
And a
that's-
group heal if you
yeah,
really don't go
And that's
Scavenge.
strictly comparing heal skills, run to stun, and scavenge to. Well,
Bonus.
scavenge to any of his two passives is better.
Right.
Right.
One that we put in, we put Grim at A instead of S.
Yes.
Basically, on if you're playing by yourself compared to the group.
Well, we took into account if you were playing in group, it was really great. He would be obvious.
Oh yeah, he's one of the
But-
best group supports in the game.
But in the end, he is technically kind of a C tier if you're, C or B tier, kind of be in between. If you're playing alone, so
No, if you're playing alone, his skills still have a lot of good value.
Right.
right, that's why
I don't
said
think
it
it
That's
was
why
C,
he.
I-
That's why he's an A.
Yeah.
Right.
And then we have, I don't think it's very big, but Coco we moved down from balance to under, just based on the fact that
She's
you know there's
comparable to
other,
Mojo,
yeah,
but stun is worse than Drake.
and then there's always you have Eduardo,
Number,
Domingo,
number 2's up there.
yeah, number 2 is also up there, and Run is definitely better early, but in the late game when you have the monkeys and the scamper and basically unlimited currency, the Run is basically pointless at that point.
And once you get mounts runs, the value is definitely decreased. Especially with the new holiday ones they added.
Yeah, 1100 speed.
The new
And
ones they added.
that make you actually they actually kick you out if you have Run and the vehicle.
Yeah,
on.
that's a bug, but
Yeah.
Another thing that was different from ours and his was that Billy and Mandy were on technically middle ground, basically.
yeah, the same
But
tier.
basically, Billy has good things in a couple of situations, and Mandy has also a couple of good situations. They kind of just balance out, and that's why they're on here rather than Billy being up.
I'd like to point out that we put, Hex isn't in D tier for us, he's in C tier for the same reason
Right.
that Vilgax is in C tier, and Blue is sadly one of the worst because I don't think his stun is strong enough to carry him out of where
No,
he is.
definitely not.
I mean, if his stun, I think he would be better if he had a drain instead of a stun. A drain would be very useful
No, the
for
stun
him.
makes sense for what was going through with his Nano mission. You have to collect juice boxes.
Right. And then you have what else do we have?
Treasure find and
Treasure Finder we
Sleep.
said nothing.
Just
Treasure Finder
wasn't-
and Sleep were just basically nothing.
Yeah.
Who else did we move around?
I
looking
think
at both of them, we have
Other than Billy. Other than Billy and Balance, he's basically the same.
the list. I knew there weren't going to be a lot of disparities between the list
No.
because a lot of things could be agreeable on. I knew Eddie and Buttercup we would switch because guard he's really valuing run and heal over
Over the guard.
guard. When
And with Buttercup, you basically don't have to.
yeah, when he talked up Buttercup so much about having 3 really strong skills and then puts Eddie in S for 2 good skills and one that's really bad, rarely used ever.
Right. Well,
I
this
think
is our
overall,
tier.
this is our.
Overall,
think
this is
this
a
is
really balanced.
basically-
I think this is a very well thought out because it's not like
It's not just one person. He obviously said there was some bias with some of his.
right,
with
and
Eddie.
also how they.
Oh,
I mean,
should've
he
muted.
also says like, "Oh, there's no bias," but Juniper Lee's on top. That's where he got away with that because Juniper Lee is literally the best.
I mean,
solo
Juniper Lee is on
Nano.
top. She's one of the best adaptive manos in the game.
Another thing that I was about was he didn't take into account much after the halfway mark of the video. He didn't account the end game kind of aspect of everything, and it kind of shifted his thinking kind of strangely. I understand some things like the end games were very not useful to him, but it was very useful to us. We know. So I
I
think
mean,
that
we
was
still put most of the stuff with group recall and C and under.
Yeah, we
right.
kind of have that group aspect where usually if one person's playing, the other people just join in. But with the level discrepancies, we really just haven't played together because
Right.
there's people that are trying to catch up. There's some people that are like, I want to play anyways.
Either way, I think you two can end this off. This is your thing.
Right.
Weren't we gonna go and pick one Adaptium, one Blaston, and one
Oh,
Cosmic?
are we just gonna make our team? What would be our final team?
Might as well.
Oh,
I mean,
jeez, final
really-
teams. I could have 3 different teams.
Right.
I know, same here.
I get. If we were gonna make one, there'd have to be one if you're playing solo, but you would never really play
Well,
solo
let's just do
Fuse.
group because mostly we're gonna be playing anyways.
Oh, so we're gonna have like 4
well, I
different
don't think we need to do
teams.
that. This is just a tier list. This isn't here
Right.
for our personal opinion for a strong team.
This could be like in a reflection or something.
Yeah, you guys
See,
can
that's
put
nothing.
that.
Well,
So I think
All
I
right.
think you guys can cut it off here.
all
Well,
right, we'll
I
end
think we're
off
good.
here. This is gonna be a long video, but thank you guys for
Oh, dog, we're at 2 hours,
yeah.
I
Thank you
know.
guys for watching.
and it's
I'm not
only
gonna
2
say
hours
anything.
because of the evaluations.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna say anything else. This was fun to do.
Oh, yeah.
This was a great day to spend the first day of Christmas break.
Take a shot at the
Uh,
community manager.
I don't think
Guilty controversy.
I really like. It's like it's not a real shot at the community manager,
No,
and
it's
it's
not.
like,
It would
well,
definitely be really cool to do something like talk with him about like making it like an official one.
right.
Right. And then basically, if they ended up saying this and they're like, well, they were right, and then they kind of take the ideas that we had and kind of put them into like legacy and stuff, that would be cool.
Yeah, I don't think they'll change any of the nanos through Legacy, but I
No.
think with new ones they make, they will try to
Yeah.
not shaft them as bad as some
Well,
of the ones
I
in
mean,
D.
with the new ones, they literally have free reign over what they want to do with it.
Exactly.
Right, because they own the Fusionfall name.
All right, let's cut it off. We're rambling on.
All right, bye.
That's how you're gonna end it? You're just gonna say bye?
Well, I already said thank you for watching.
I've been Banana Smoothie 1.
Oh, I'm Nixon13.
And this is Shadowfire 12.
We'll see you guys in the next one.